Hello and welcome to another planning appeal case study video. I'm John Peters, and in this video I'm going to explain how we overcame a recent refusal by Enfield Council for one of our clients. This planning appeal was to overcome the refusal for a garden annex studio that was refused by the local authority, Enfield Planning Department. Our client was initially booked in for a free no obligation consultation to run through the refusal reasons that had been used by Enfield Council and to evaluate if an appeal was viable or if an alternative option would be best suited. The free no obligation consultation, which took around about 25 minutes, found that this case was viable for appeal to the Planning Inspectorate, taking the decision process away from Enfield Council Planning Department. This case was refused by Enfield Council for the following reasons. The proposed development, in the absence of any adequate flood risk assessment and a flood management evacuation plan, fails to demonstrate how proposed measures manage the risk of flooding and utilise sustainable urban drainage systems following the drainage hierarchy in the London Plan. The planning inspector in this case identified the main reason for this case as there is one main issue, which is the effect of the outbuilding on flood risk in the surrounding area and the effect of risk of flooding on the safety and future occupiers of the building. The inspector stated the following in the appeal decision. The proposed outbuilding, which would replace a smaller shed, has been designed to be raised some 0.2 of a metre above ground levels on a series of pins as set out by the FRA and shown on the submitted plans in order to protect it from flooding. The finished floor level is proposed to be 30.12 metres AOD, which is at least 150 millimetres above the estimated surface water flood depth for a 1 in 100 year or 17% climate change event. The area under the base that is currently unpaved would be paved using permeable material. Both these measures would assist in maintaining and the free flow of water and retention of flood capacity beneath the building as set out in section 4.4 of the submitted flood risk assessment. It is also proposed to excavate within the rear garden at the site to replace the circa 0.3 metres of flood capacity lost to the development. Nevertheless, the council sustainable urban drainage system considers that the flood risk assessment fails to demonstrate that the development would be safe from flooding and would not increase flood risk elsewhere. In particular, it is identified that the flood management evacuation plan should be provided demonstrating that an evacuation route is in a very low hazard level. The appellant urges that the submitted flood risk assessment demonstrates that the proposal has been designed such that it would not increase the risk of flooding to others. Moreover, an evacuation strategy based on the severe weather warning service, including evacuation advice from the environmental agency and local agencies informed by their early warning systems, is set out in the flood risk assessment. In addition, the building is a residential outbuilding, meaning that occupiers could evacuate to the safety of the main dwelling well before any flood event happens. Taken together, it is suggested these measures would reduce the likelihood of danger to life should severe flooding occur and indicate that flood risk at the site could be suitably managed. I have given this case very careful consideration because flood risk is an important issue, and I take the view that national guidance contained in the National Planning Policy Framework together with the local policy should not be set aside other than in those circumstances where other material considerations clearly outweigh the risk. In this case, a very similar building but without the same flood risk protections proposed could be built at the site and probably would be if planning permission for the appeal building is refused, and that would be done under permitted development. It is therefore the case that some flood protection would be better than none. Moreover, flood risk in the area is limited to a moderate surface risk of flooding. As you can see in this case, sometimes it's simply worth arguing for what you wish to have. The council know the vast majority of cases will not go to appeal. Many of you who have had similar refusal reasons repeatedly state to us that you've had little or no correspondence throughout the application process, and the first thing you knew was receiving the refusal notice from the council, and in some cases when you received a letter from ourselves. We completely understand that the planning process can be very frustrating, the cost involved, the time it takes and so on, but do remember we deal with this on a daily basis for others just like yourself. With planning appeals, experience really does matter, and our specialist appeals team, who handles over 2.5% of all the planning appeals in England and Wales that are currently produced and submitted, start by producing a comprehensive and robust appeal statement that in this specific case covered 47 pages and just over 6,500 words. It's important to detail in the appeal statement where the local authority failed on their assessment of the case and how, and where possible both local and national policy applies in favour of the appeal. Additionally, if possible, bringing in similar cases that the Planning Inspectorate found in favour of at the appeal stage. Obviously, with the back catalogue we have of wins, we're able to use these cases and what the inspector said in them as additional argument to support the cases we're working on. Once an appeal statement is completed, we send the documents to our client, asking them to check that they're happy for us to submit the case, and if we need to add any additional information that the client may have forgotten previously to supply, it's done at this point and the case is then submitted. It is vitally important that all documents and responses are submitted on time throughout the process, as failure to do so will result in the appeal not being successful, something we hear about often when people attempt an appeal for the first time. Always ensure you use a professional who has considerable experience of appeals. It is worth asking them for some recent successful planning appeal case studies like you find on our website. Due to the large number of cases we represent, we have a dedicated team that liaises with the Planning Inspectorate on a daily basis. For this appeal, an independent planning inspector from the Planning Inspectorate visited the site on the 11th of November, and we're pleased to confirm that the appeal was upheld and permission granted on the 26th of November in a 3-page appeal decision notice. If you would like to find out if we could help you with your planning appeal, complete our online form on our website, www.planningappealsuk.com, and our new case support team will arrange for a free, no obligation consultation with one of our planning appeal assessment professionals. Thank you for taking the time to watch this planning appeal case study video, and I look forward to producing the next one very shortly. Bye for now.